to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Mia. I am a South African in the Netherlands and I love creating content centered around lifestyle, fashion and hosting. In case you don't know, I also run a craft club here in the city. It's called Rotterdam Craft Club, and once a month I gather a bunch of girls and we just create something together. This can be anything from vision boarding to cupcake decorating to mystery book swaps. We have done so many different meetups, and this time I wanted to do something for the Swifties. As a massive Swiftie myself, this year April 29th was on a Tuesday, which couldn't have been a more perfect day to do something like this. I definitely want to preface this with the fact that we did this on a weeknight. As I mentioned, this was April 29th, which happened to be a Tuesday, so we didn't have as much time in the evening as a lot of people still had university or work the next day. However, we made the absolute most of the night, and I'm going to run you through everything that we did. Diving straight into the setup, the first thing that you're obviously going to need is a place to host this meetup. In my case, I just hosted it in my living room. We were 6 people in total and we had so much fun. I invited everyone through an app called Partiful. I actually found this app through TikTok because I got so many recommendations for it, and it's changed the way I host tremendously. This isn't even an ad, but honestly, as someone who loves to host things, it makes it so much easier. Essentially, how Partiful works is that you can send custom invites to whoever is attending your events. This means that you can title it, you can change the fonts, you can add like effects. They have an entire gallery for pictures that you can select to include in your invitation. There is also a section for you to add a location, add a dress code, a playlist. You can also charge for the event, and then there's obviously the description section. So in our case, because I knew that it was going to be a Swiftie evening and that we were going to be doing crafts, I decided why not get the girls involved with the whole process. Aside from me just hosting it, they were helping me to plan it. Naturally, if that's something that you're not up for, then obviously you can plan it yourself. But in my case, what I did was I sent out polls for the types of activities that we would be doing. So for example, one of our main things that we would be creating that evening was a collage. I had their input on whether or not we should create the collage on a photo frame or if we should do it on a canvas. Something else that I did to make it a little bit more collaborative was to create a Spotify playlist. On Spotify, you can add collaborators, and I had each of the girls add 4 songs. Since this was a Tuesday evening, I knew that that would roughly end up being like an hour and a half / 2 hours, which was the perfect time for this meetup. I told the girls to arrive at 7 o'clock, and I also encouraged everyone to dress up as their favorite era. For this meetup, I also included an €8 fee because it is part of the craft club. We typically do charge smaller fees for things like materials and snacks. Since there were 6 of us, this meetup came down to €48 in total. With this €48 budget, I created goodie bags for everyone that was attending. You can see more of that in my last vlog, but basically it included a scrap kit, it included things that they could use for their collages, it included the actual photo frames for the collages. I also bought little jars, candle wicks, decorative items. And the reason why I did that was because we had different activities planned, so every activity that we would be doing that evening, I kind of already included in the goodie bag. Now, shifting into what was actually in the goodie bag / the crafts section of the evening, you can see more about the prep for this in my last video, but essentially I got everyone these purple gift bags. They are super affordable and I got them from Amazon. Each girl got a photo frame that they could create their collage on. The pictures inside of the collages I had printed, so we spent the evening just cutting them out and arranging them to our liking. Although the evening was Taylor Swift themed, the actual collages themselves didn't have a theme. It was basically just whatever you wanted to create. A lot of the girls went with some of their favorite albums or based it around a lyric. I also encouraged everyone to bring little souvenirs or trinkets that were Swiftie themed that they could add to their collages. For some people, this might be Polaroids. For other people, this might be confetti from the actual Eras tour or the tickets from any of Taylor's concerts. So that was the first activity and one of the items that was included in the goodie bag. For the second craft activity, we decided to make some lavender haze inspired candles. At Action, they have a ton of candle making kits. However, I literally just bought a couple of purple candles, double boiled them, and then poured the wax into smaller glass jars. To actually have a lavender inspired scent, we just used lavender essential oil. The only reason why we double boiled the candles was because the wax that I ordered didn't arrive on time. So if you are planning to do this, maybe order the wax like 2 or 3 weeks ahead of schedule, just in case there's a delay with the delivery. The Swifties and I were pretty happy with our little glass jars though. As I mentioned before, we just plopped a little wick in here and then poured the wax over. Did however run out of purple candle wax, so I melted down a pink candle instead. It's kind of giving lover vibes now, but it still smells like lavender, so I put a little washi tape over it and just wrote down lavender haze. For the third activity of the evening, everyone made a bookmark. For the bookmarks that we created, it was a very similar concept to the collages. We basically just scrapbooked like different themes onto the bookmarks. I would most certainly recommend using some sort of sealant to go over it so that there's no like, you know, sort of loose edges of washi tape or random pieces of paper just kind of flicking out at the ends. Then lastly, no Swiftie evening would be complete without making a friendship bracelet. Now I know the girlies are so tired. Like me personally, I cannot handle another bead. However, they happen to be a staple in this fandom. So the beads that I had, I put in 3 different different containers. We had one black and white one that was a reference to the Torture Poets department. We also had a bunch of multicolor ones that was just a reference to all of the other eras. And then we had one that was just filled with yellow and red as a reference to the Chiefs. Now personally, I knew that I wasn't going to be making any friendship bracelets because I am so tired of turning my W's into M's and my F's into E's. So instead, I just used the bracelets that I already had and I used them as decoration. It was so much fun to create all of those different crafts while also listening to the actual playlist that the girls and I had curated, delve into fan theories, try to guess who some of the songs were about, and really just appreciating the music together as we created these crafts. Now, of course, every craft night or every meetup in general truly needs to have snacks. Something that I always recommend if you're hosting something is to get everyone's dietary preferences. I'm not just talking about veganism and vegetarianism, I'm also talking about if someone is halal, if they have any sort of allergies aside from nuts. So if you are planning to cook, it's always a good idea to check with your guests. Otherwise, just ask them to bring something themselves. 9 times out of 10 people won't mind and they'll be happy that you considered them. At our meetup, there were 2 people who were vegan, so I just made everything vegan because it was easier. The only things we had that weren't vegan were cheese, and we made a cheese board called You Belong with Brie. Why not? We also had some gummy snakes as a reference to the Reputation album. Something I definitely regret is not having chicken tenders. I also regret not having Taylor Swift's chai cookies. Oh my god, this went viral on Tumblr years ago and the recipe is still online. I was planning to actually do this and that would have been another fun activity for the evening. Bake the cookies together or at least to decorate them. However, I do not have an oven yet, so that was something that we just decided to postpone for the next time. So aside from the cheese board, which included 2 different types of cheese and grapes, we also had tortilla chips and guac. We also served some other sweet snacks such as Oreos and chocolate. Something I've noticed with the craft meetups though is that people rarely snack because everyone is so focused on what they're creating. But people definitely do prefer to drink though. Not like drink, but like, you know, have a little soda or 2. We were so chill about this. We literally just had 2 different types of iced tea, Fanta, water. I'm pretty sure we had another type of soda there as well. We also had tea. It was definitely a very cute and very wholesome night. Even though we were just drinking sodas, iced tea and water, I had these little champagne glasses and everyone just poured their drinks in there. It's definitely a fun way to just romanticize an evening. If this were a morning meetup, I would do all of the grocery shopping the day before. However, because it was in the evening, I had time in the afternoon, and that way it also ensured that everything was extra fresh. I also had garlic bread and I popped that right in the air fryer a couple minutes before I knew everyone was going to arrive. I love it when it comes out of the oven or the air fryer, and it's so nice, and like you can see that the garlic butter has just melted. To end the evening, we all just showed each other our collages and what we had created. It was really cool to see everyone's creations and the different designs and how creative people can be. We definitely had a great time, and if you are recreating this, I would recommend doing it over a weekend so that you have more time for your activities. Getting everyone to dress up is so fun. If you have the time to do it, I would also obviously recommend decorating your space. I've seen people make balloon arches. There are slingers that look like friendship bracelets. If you are a Swiftie and you're also based in Rotterdam and you'd like to join the craft club, definitely follow us over on Instagram and send us a DM with any ideas. We're always looking for people to help us co-host, to help us plan, and typically we do these meetups in public settings. Now, if you're watching this but it's not something that you want to recreate for a craft club, obviously this is something that you can do with your friends. If that's the case, just doing it at your house is such a nice and affordable activity. But if you are planning a similar sort of meetup and you're doing it with Swifties that you've met online, I highly recommend actually checking out venues in your city or the area that you're in. You definitely don't want to be inviting a bunch of randoms over to your place unless you absolutely need to because the venue cancelled last minute. Not that I would know anything about that. But in any case, the biggest tip that I would have for any sort of meetup that you're hosting is genuinely just to have fun with it. Not focusing on what you don't have, not focusing on who isn't there, just really enjoying what it is that you set out to do. So moving on, but if you're planning to host a Swiftie night that's been inspired by this video, definitely tag me at Ké-leigh or Rotterdam Craft Club on Instagram. Also, just in general, let me know what your favorite Taylor Swift album is. Mine is Reputation, and so far I've been loving all of the fall tracks, so I cannot wait for the Reputation fall tracks because I feel like those are going to be insane. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed my yapping and that you got some inspiration from it. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video, but until then, if you want to keep up with similar content to this, make sure to follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. I hope you have a great day and I will see you soon. Bye!